Thank you for joining us today. Today we will be discussing Microsoft Power BI. This is the third of four sessions focusing on the power of BI. Today we will cover as much as possible. Our topic in particular today is going to be covering reporting. Now, before we begin, like always, let's learn a little bit about Opal Business Solutions. Opal has approximately 20 team members with a wide variety of technical expertise and certifications. Opal is also a Silver Enterprise Partner and CSP with Microsoft. Opal strives hard to serve as an extension of your team, helping you to design and deliver technology solutions to help you anticipate and overcome business challenges. With two offices on the East Coast, Opal provides quick and reliable products and services throughout the United States. Opal is able to provide one stop for your technology needs. Whether looking for enterprise-level hardware, SMB equipment, or even certified pre-owned, Opal is positioned to provide the equipment you need for your organization. Opal also provides CSP licensing on Microsoft applications while also customizing any software to meet your growing needs. And finally, Opal's network services team provides the expertise and knowledge to design, upgrade, and support your entire infrastructure. With Opal's team monitoring and maintaining your network, you will have the latest security protection and meet the industry verified compliances, protecting your organization and company for years to come. Without further delay, my name is Jay Hess, Vice President of Opal Business Solutions. Let's begin our presentation and learn about Microsoft Power BI reporting. Let's start by asking, what is reporting in Power BI? According to Microsoft, reporting is a multi-perspective view into a data set with visualizations that represent different findings and insights from that data set. A report can have a single visualization or pages full of visualizations, as you see here. There are types of users when thinking of reporting, and those different types of users are creators and consumers. Depending on your role, you may be someone who creates reports for your own use or to share with colleagues, or you want to learn how to create and share reports. Or you may be someone who receives reports from others and you want to learn how to understand and interact with those reports. Here are some tips to help you get started. If you are a creator, start with a tour of Power BI services so you know where to find reports and reporting tools. Then take a tour of the report editor. Learn how to create a report from a data set. Learn how to use the visualizations page and report level filters, and discover all the different ways you can share a report with colleagues. Today, this is going to be primarily our focus when we jump into the system. If you are a consumer, you want to start with a tour of the Power BI service so you know where to find the reports and reporting tools. Learn how to open a report and all the interaction available in the reading view. Get comfortable with reports by taking a tour of one of the samples that are available from Microsoft. And that will allow you to see which data set the report is using and which dashboards have tiles pinned to the report. And Microsoft has a lot of related content in that aspect. So you want to go out and view all of that related content if you can. Reports are based on a single data set. The visualizations in a report each represent a nugget of information, and the visualizations aren't static. You can add and remove data, change visualization types, and apply filters and slicers as you dig into the data to discover insights and look for more answers. Like a dashboard, the reports are like a dashboard, but more so a report is highly interactive, highly customizable, and the visualizations update as the underlying data changes. In the previous slide, I mentioned dashboards, and too often dashboards get confused with reports. The two seem very similar, but they're actually very different. Here you can see some major differences. For instance, dashboards are one page. Reports are one or more pages. Your data sets are different. One or more reports and one or more data sets can be used per dashboard, while a single data set has to be used per report. Then you can look whether or not things are available in Power BI desktop. Can you pin them? Can you subscribe to things? You can't subscribe to a dashboard, but you could subscribe to report pages. The different levels of filtering and slicing the data, that's there. Getting alerts when certain conditions are met. So it's very important to understand whether you're looking to establish a dashboard or whether you're looking to establish a report. And sometimes you have to have a combination of both when it comes to your particular workspace or your site for your organization. All right, now let's jump into Power BI itself and just see some reporting and how easy it is to go ahead and work with this information. All right, this is where we had problems last time in our session. We got disconnected where when we jumped out into Power BI, it does not look like we're having that issue today, so that's good. What I've done is I logged into my Office 365 account where I had access to my Power BI. This is my home. This is something new. It's a little bit of a preview that I'm seeing, a little different layout. I can get, information and so forth. So one of the things we want to do today is we want to start looking at reporting. So as we look at the reporting, we want to go ahead and, we want to create a workspace that we want to begin working with and kind of putting some charts, graphs, reports on. So if I go ahead and click on this, I can see there are a bunch of workspaces I've already begun to play with. I created one that was a lunch and learn previously. I can edit that one if I'd like to, or I can leave it. In this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. And it's just going to ask me for some general information. Name this workspace. We'll call it Lunch and Learn 2, and then some particular settings. If I want to add workspace members and so forth, I can. So I've just created a workspace. That workspace is where I'm going to begin playing with the data, setting up the reports and so forth. In this particular case, I can discover different types of content, whether my organization, services, files, databases. I already have a file that I've downloaded. I mentioned in the slides about samples. There's samples there that you can get and start playing with. I'm actually going to play with one of those samples today and show you how to use that. But in this case, I went ahead, I downloaded the data set I wanted to use. It is in Excel, so I'm going to go ahead, get the file. It's looking to ask me where I want to find the file from. I downloaded it to my desktop. So I'm just going to look for a local file. And in this particular case, we're going to work with a retail analysis. So we can look at things like sales, profit, margins, things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And now we have the capability of whether we want to upload it or import it. In this particular case, we want to go ahead and import it. And you can see it's importing that particular file. It's going to take a moment or two. All right, so now we can see that the retail analysis sample has been loaded. I can go ahead and, if I wanted to, I can click on it, ask it a question, but quickest way to get to your data is you'll get this little pop-up, click View Data Set, and you'll notice that my screen has changed. A couple things that have occurred. We're back to the screen that we saw earlier in Power BI Desktop, and we can go ahead and do many of the same familiar things as here. If we open up and expand our data set and our field, I can see all our fields. I can see districts, items, stores. I can even see time. All this information is available to me. If you need a little bit more room, just go ahead and spread it out. That way you can see. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we're going to go ahead and just start working with some data. So let's say I wanted to use a chart. I can click on the chart and it'll just put a sample area that I'm going to start working with will be there. The next thing I want to do is I want to think about what data I'm looking for. What is it that I'm trying to achieve with this? And in reality, what I'm trying to achieve, I mentioned before, talking about sales goals. So maybe that's what we want to do, is we want to start looking at sales goals. And in order to do that, a gauge may be the better chart. So I go ahead and I take a look at the gauge, and then I want to go down my fields column, and I want to look at, maybe I want to look at, in this particular case, I want to look at this year's sales value. So if I click on that, now we can see that I have a $22 million sales for this year. That information is available. If I want to, I can go ahead and I'm just going to pull that down into my target value. And we can see that makes a line here, and that would be my target value if I was looking for that to be my target. But in this particular case, I'm not. What I'd like to do is set my target to equal my goal. So I can take the goal, pull it into my target value, and we can see that my goal was 23 million. I'm at 22 million. So really quickly, I can determine that I'm close to achieving my goals for the year, which is great considering it's so early in the year. I'm going to go ahead and save this report because I now have my first step that I'm kind of working with. So I can save that report. It's going to ask me for a name. And it saves that report and it lets us know that it has been saved. The next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to start working with other data. So maybe the gauge was good for the sales, but now I want to look at something else. So you notice I just clicked out of that box onto my blank workspace. And the next thing I probably want to pull in is going to be another type of chart or graph or report. So the first one, that clustered column, I think that's the one I'm going to go ahead and use in this case. You notice it pulls that in, and now I'm working with that particular chart because it is highlighted. Now, in this case, maybe I want to start to look at last year versus this year's sales. So in order to do that, I can go to this year's sales and I can, obviously see the value. That's easy enough to do. I can also maybe go to last year's sales and see that one. So now I can see them side by side. Again, I'm not sure this shows us the right information or the best conveyance of that information. So in this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at an area chart instead. So if I click that, you'll notice that it's going to change it. It's going to put it into an area chart. Now, with an area chart, there's certain information I need to view in order to make that look right. One of those that I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to take the period and I'm going to put that up on the x-axis. And when I do that, now you can see by period, I can do a quick comparison, this year's versus last year's. One of the other things that we've talked about, we've kind of seen how to filter the data and so forth, or add fields and so forth. But now we want to really start to create some, we'll call it slicing and dicing, no pun intended here. But in that case, we're going to go ahead and use the slicing tool or the slicer for that. And that particular tool is right here. We can go ahead and add that in there. Now, there's a couple things that you may want to do. Is probably want to go ahead and move this around a little bit, or you can add your data. It just depends on what you want to do. In this case, I want to start to filter this by district. So if I just click district, you notice it's going to pop all that data in. Now, the key here is you want it to make sense for people who are using it. So I oftentimes will pull my slicing tool over to the left, get a little better layout with my reports. And if you have more than one slicing tool or a long one, you can list it here. But now, what this slicing tool has done since I've added the districts to it is it gives me the capability to go in and start looking for trends. If I look at FD01, you'll notice that my data updated. I'm now only looking at this year and last year's sales goals as it relates to that district, or this year's sales goals and last year and this year's sales as it relates to that district. So that district alone has a $4 million goal, and we're just about creeping up on that. We can see FD2 is even closer, and then LI02 and so forth. So you can see how this gives you a better analysis to see. If I uncheck, I get the overall again, so I can see how close we were, but maybe I can see which districts are lagging behind or which ones are really pulling us up closest to our goal, so that we can see who the stronger performers are versus those who maybe aren't so strong. So we've been able to see how to connect to the data. There are sample data sets by Microsoft out there that you can play with. We've pulled in some reports, changed the reports to show them in different ways, how to add the data, put them into different axis values. If you wanted to show a legend, you could put those data fields in there, and then you'd be able to even filter and so forth if you'd like to. And then we showed how to tie a slicer into all the data that's on your workspace so that you can create a better analysis for this. So with that, I think at this time, I'd like to just go ahead and open this up for any questions that maybe people have had throughout the presentation, that maybe they've sent through chat and so forth. Usually I do such a great job of sending all the information or conveying the information that there are very few questions. So just give me a moment while I take a look at the chat area, see if there's any questions. I'm not going to give anybody an opportunity to chat anymore. So at this time, there doesn't appear to be any questions. So, I'd like to just thank everybody. Please look for this video and others on our Opal Business Solutions YouTube channel. And remember to look for our monthly newsletter sent the fourth week of the month, as well as our Microsoft email sent the first week of the month, in order to keep updated on the latest tips and features. Thank you again for your time, and have yourself a great day. Really appreciate you joining us to learn about Power BI reporting.